Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield, and it's European Open week. Josh, I know you're excited. The Beast is in our future. It all starts Thursday. We're going to have a heavy dose of European Open talk this week as we get you ready for the big show. What are you most excited for, Josh?
I'm excited for the Europeans to have home court advantage. I think that we've got a lot of really great Europeans who have demonstrated that they have the skill to play with the best. But I think you give them the home court advantage, put them in a place where they're comfortable, where they're on their own time zone, where travel is significantly less for them. They've got friends and family there. And I think we're going to see some Europeans who are going to play really well this weekend.
And some just high volume of European players. Okay, we're going to obviously talk a ton about the competition, and tomorrow we're going to move our Thursday show to Wednesday because competition begins at like 3 a.m. on Thursday in the United States. So if you get up for the live coverage, power to you. But we're going to make sure that our preview show is out tomorrow. We're also going to be doing bonus preview coverage today, so it's not wall-to-wall European Open coverage. The big question that I have for you right now, what are the odds that in MPO, a European wins? Any European, including Simon.
Oh, including Simon.
Yeah. Got to include Simon. He's on the European team for the President's Cup.
That's true. You're right. I give it like probably 1-4. 1 to 5.
So 4 to 1.
4 to 1. Yeah.
5 to 1 is the number that I thought.
That's 5 to 1.
20% chance basically.
Yeah.
Bet 10 to win 50.
Yeah. That's the number I like.
It sounds about right.
Do you want to take those odds, Charlie? It's been a long time.
Ooh. I think, and maybe this betrays the number here, I think I don't. I think I would need more. I'd need a bigger number.
Okay. Well, sorry, I don't know if I want to pay up a bigger number.
I probably need 8 to 1.
8 to 1 for.
Which maybe means that's like the true. That's my estimate of the odds there. I mean, I think there are plenty of players who are capable of winning from Europe. And, there aren't that many American players, right? There's a lot, but it's not the full tour, right? It's still an uphill battle for the Europeans.
I mean, I don't know. It's like you're telling me.
Do you want to take the odds?
I might take the odds because we'll talk more about this later, but Macbeth's not in form. Ricky's I think the best chance. You got Calvin as well. Eagle's hurt. Chris is out. Like, I think Simon is probably the number 2 or number 3 guy in your book right now.
Well, you can't. I mean, I know Macbeth's not in form. I hear you. You're right. But the weight of history is strong.
I mean,
he hasn't lost this event in 10 years.
I hear what you're saying.
Now, the event hasn't happened every single year, but since 2013, he has won every time. Every time. Macbeth, every time. Now, I don't think he's the favorite.
He's not.
Despite that. But it's also, he's not that far off from getting back to full Macbeth form. I mean, he's had the moments, like the last round at Idlewild, he shoots the course record. Like, he's not that far away is the thing.
I mean, Champions Cup? I
hear you. It's been a problem this season. We have so much to get to about this tournament. I don't want to get to it all right now, but one more time before we move on. 5 to 1. Do you want to take the Europeans?
You know what? I'll put $10 on Simon. Plus the Europeans.
$10 on the Europeans.
5 to 1. Yep.
Put it in the books. It's not an over-under. It's an actual cash money bet, and it's in the books. All right. So there it is. Josh bets 10 to win 50 on a European champion at the European Open in MPO. So we've got so much to talk about. PCS Sula Open was a Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver Series event. It's like the key warm-up tournament for the European Open. We're going to get to that in just a moment. I want to talk briefly first about what I was doing last week and why we didn't have a Thursday show and why I wasn't there for the Casey White interview. I was in Birmingham, Alabama for the World Games, which is basically, in a nutshell, it's Olympics for non-Olympic sports. And Ultimate Frisbee is contested there. Flying Disc has been a part of the program since 2001. And back in 2001, I've probably talked about this before on the show, disc golf was a part of the tournament. And then it got dumped in 2005, and it hasn't been on the program since then. They are trying to bring it back for 2025. There were PDGA representatives there. Brian Graham was in town. They had disc golf like showcases set up. It was I don't know how much of a showcase it really was. Like they set up a basket, and there were a bunch of like locals trying to throw it in from like 200 feet. At least that's what I saw at the Flying Disc venue. I mean, it was fun. Like I threw some putts, but like I don't know how much it was like impacting things.
Sure.
But China is a really strong market for disc sports in general. Like disc golf is growing very fast there. I was talking to a few folks. Pad Timmons was there from Discraft, and I was talking to Brian about it. And not only that, but like it's trendy. Ultimate is also very trendy. Like young teenagers and 20-somethings like are all dressed up like they're going to the nightclub out there playing Ultimate. It's really weird. Like there's if you Google this, you can find articles about it. It's like a trendy thing to do disc sports in China. So I think there's a very good chance that disc golf's going to get onto the program, which I think is really cool. Like it's not going to offer big prize money, but it's like a world championship event that only happens once every 4 years. That's basically like the Olympics. I hope that players are willing to embrace it. You know, I don't know how that's all going to work. You know, you probably have to send team delegations to compete, and then there'll also be an individual component. But, you know, I hope that, like, you know, the United States is willing, and maybe the PDGA is like willing to pay for players to go over to China to play in this event. Because, you know, it's going to be a tough sell to ask players to take a week off or maybe 2 weeks off to go to China and play for no money. But, you know, if various national federations can make it happen, I think it could be a really fun event where it's like, it truly feels like a world title, not just the worlds that happens every single year.
I think for players who, at least from the United States, who are financially capable, and you know, finances isn't much of a question right now, Paul Macbeth, Ricky Wysocki, I really think they would jump at an opportunity like this, just given kind of the publicity and the opportunity to say, you know, look, we've got in recent, modern, at least modern history, the first gold medal for Team USA in disc golf. That's something that, even if it only happens once, I mean, that would be an accomplishment that Macbeth obviously doesn't have on his wall right now. And I think that's something that would be enough to motivate him to make that trip. And so I agree. I hope the PDGA or whoever needs to helps make that happen. But that would be really exciting to see players especially go over and get to compete in that event.
So we will see what happens. Getting back into the games is the first step. So we'll see there. And this is kind of the stepping stone towards the Olympics if you think that disc golf has an Olympic future. So obviously the sport, who knows what it's going to look like in 2025. I mean, to think about how much it's changed over the last 3 years, you know, I don't expect that kind of magnitude of change over the next 3 years, but things are, you can't overstate how much the sport has evolved it's like a year at a time, things change dramatically. So a year ago we had national tour events. We don't have them anymore. So let's dig into some European action. PCS Sula Open taking place in Norway. And Josh, the number one thing, I've just missed European disc golf so much. it is so great to see the courses of this level of beauty and the differentiation from the typical look and feel of American disc golf courses. I mean, we're talking about stones with moss and, this rugged terrain that you don't find too much in the United States. Like Maple Hill has a bit of that feel, but for so much of the season, we're in the desert and we're in the Midwest, and like courses for the most part are ugly. Like Pacific Northwest, we get some beautiful courses. Northeast, we get some beautiful courses. A lot of the rest of the year, aesthetically, it's just not great. Europe brings the heat. It's pleasurable to watch the disc golf be played. Like it doesn't even if they're not playing that well, you're like, wow, what a beautiful shot. What a beautiful hole. I would love to play that hole. There's like the triple Mando hole at PCS Sula. They throw a big downhill shot. There's OB behind, so you can't just blast it in there. It's so epic. Like the scope, it's so beautiful. They're not perfect courses. And like there's like some holes that cross each other. It's kind of weird. But so what? Like, don't nitpick it. It's fine. It's just so great to watch the disc golf be played.
Well, and I think they also offer things, and what I really like is something that I like about the Preserve as well, but it really, you can tell, brings its own element of culture, of identity with these tournaments. When you have an 18th hole that's on the tractor and the trophy is an axe and a shield for Greg Barsby. Also, I saw someone on social media ask if that was the best trophy in disc golf. Yes, it is. Going back to our discussion of trophies, that is the coolest. I want to know how, and I'm sure like people who collect souvenirs like that or historic artifacts. I know that one probably isn't a historic artifact, but people who
they stole it from the museum.
People who fly with souvenirs like this. I mean, I'm sure there's a way that TSA deals with it, but I just love the thought of Greg Barsby walking through security with an axe in his hand and being like, "Yeah, I need help getting this back to America, please." How did you win that? Throwing frisbees. Like, that's a conversation.
They're taking you to the back room for further scrutiny at that point.
They really are. So anyway, I mean that's the big part though, is it. I got to watch a little bit of it, and at the beginning, hole one, they go to tee off, and I think I just saw a highlight clip of it, and I'd seen some previous PCS Sula coverage, just watching YouTube videos of the past, and they go up to hole one, and immediately after seeing hole one, I was like, oh, it's this PCS Sula. Like, I just recognized it, and that's something that I think is really valuable about these courses, that you could see them and you recognize them, that they have holes that stick in your mind. There's a lot of things that are done well about this course, and I think a big part of it is, like you said, the aesthetic beauty.
So Greg Barsby gets a win in a playoff over Jakub Semerad, and what I love about it is that it just gives me the belief that maybe Greg Barsby is going to show up and duel Paul McBeth again at European Open. Greg was okay off the tee. He was fine. I mean, he did enough to be in position to win. But the reason that he won this tournament is because he was dropping putts from everywhere. I mean, even sometimes he was hitting putts that didn't go in, that should have gone in. I mean, he hit the monster putt on 17 and it didn't stay in. And he's like, these baskets suck. I don't remember exactly what his quote was, but he was mad. Like, what else am I supposed to do? But I mean, he was dropping stuff from 50, 60 feet on a regular basis. And even when he wasn't making them, he was all over the basket. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be harder for him to win at the Beast with the kind of up and down play that he had off the tee. But, if you're hitting putts like that, and you're not putting yourself in bad positions too often, you're going to have a chance. So I mean, it's just so cool to watch Greg Barsby play great, because when he is dialed in, is there a better putter on the planet? I mean, he doesn't bring it all the time like a Chris Dickerson, or I don't know, like name your favorite putter from Corey Ellis, sure, or whatever. But like when he's hot, like, it's like watching Steph Curry shoot three. You're like, he's going to make it. Like, he's going to hit this. And then he hits it. It's awesome. So very cool to see him get the win. Jakub Semerad he was in position to win this tournament. He's up a stroke going into 18. All he's got to do is lay up to the corner and put a ton of pressure on Barsby. He really tries to do too much, goes OB. They go to a playoff, and then he goes OB again in the playoff. I think these are young player mistakes. I think that, some of it is just misexecution, but some of it's also like you're up a stroke. Like, ask Greg to make a really tough shot, and don't give him the door to be able to lay up and force the playoff, which is what happened. He really should have won in my mind. Like, he had a lead coming into the final round. He had a couple really bad missed putts early. He took a double bogey that kind of coughed up his lead. But then he was still in position to win on 18. And, you got to give Greg credit. Like, he hit the putts that he needed to be able to be in contention late in the round. But don't sleep on this Semerad. Don't sleep on him. He's coming over to the U.S. He's going to be playing a couple tournaments on the Pro Tour before Worlds, and somebody to keep an eye on because he's got a lot of tools. He was one of the most impressive players off the tee this week.
This actually brings me to a convergence of two topics that I think are really interesting here. Jakub, I watched him play last year I say that like I was there. I need to be careful how I say that because that typically implies that people were there. I was not there. I watched coverage where Jakub played at the European Disc Golf Championship last year and played quite well. I don't know how old Jakub is for sure. I know in 2017 he was playing juniors, which makes me presume that 22 is the absolute oldest that he is. But he doesn't look like he's 22. So I don't know how old he is, but there's a convergence of two things here that I think are really interesting. Number one, he is a 1,011 rated player, a very low rated player relative to our tour standards. And it is interesting to me because he is able to beat out the likes of Calvin Heimberg, of James Conrad, Kevin Jones, almost Greg Barsby, a handful of players who are quite good and rated significantly higher than him. It shows that there is a home court advantage. Europeans, Vino is in fifth, beating out Calvin or tying with Calvin. Only 7 strokes off the lead. I guess given the margins though, that's pretty big. But my point is that there is a home field advantage, and sometimes we talk about that, and I think it's easy to kind of dismiss as well. The best of the best are still going to show up. And that's true to an extent, but there is a big advantage to being at home. The second thing that I think is interesting, though, is the ratings from this tournament. It was odd because Greg Barsby wins with a 1044 average rating. Round 2, he's 1041. Finals, he's 1048. That's his high and low. Rounds 1 and 3 are both 1044 rated, 1044 rated. The reason I find this perplexing is because that is a relatively low score or rating for winning even a Silver Series, given the field that was here. And the part that I find odd, one part of me asks, is it because of the course? Is it because the ratings just are underinflated at this course? But on the flip side, Jakub's round 2 was a 1081 rated. Calvin has a 1074 round 2, but then Calvin also has a 1011 64 rated 1011 rated 64 round 1.
Yeah, but you can't complain about that. I mean, he shot 10 strokes worse in round 1 than he did in round 2. I mean, that sounds like a very normal scoring spread.
And it does. And so I wonder if it's just people were off this weekend. I don't really know what to read into it, and given how low the ratings were. I find it odd. I don't really know how to read into it, but I think that's also something that benefited Jakub because the lower rated rounds meant that he was able to kind of compete and play at a little bit above his rating, and that was enough to keep him up for the playoff.
Here's the thing I'd say. Having watched, I don't really feel that, I think Greg Barsby won because he played very consistently, which you can see in his ratings and his scores. And he played consistently well. He didn't play consistently great. I think if you had a full tour contingent here, he doesn't win this tournament. He probably finishes in the top 10, maybe the top 5, but he probably doesn't win. And so I guess my point is that like this wasn't 1080 golf being played by Greg Barsby. He was not parking a lot of holes. He was not in position for tap-in birdies. Like he won despite making some mistakes. Now, the conditions also were really tough.
True.
Now, I know that ratings are supposed to basically adjust for that, right? Because like it's really windy. People are going OB. But, you know, I feel like there were some rounds out there that were at that level, right? We see the 1080s. We see the high 1070s, 53, 54. But, what did Greg shoot in the final round? 57? Like, it's a good score, but it's not an incredible score. I think that it's fair that was in the 1040s, which, to be clear, is not bad disc golf. I think on a regular tour stop, generally mid 1040s golf is not enough to win because somebody's going to do better than that. But think about the competition level here. Yes, you do have some big name players, but you only have 1, 2, 3 players rated over 1030 in the entire field. And then you only have another 6 who are rated above 1020. So it's just a lower standard of disc golf at a Silver Series. And the top guys didn't play that great. I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't really think ratings are questionable given the eye test.
Sure. And I guess the reason the eye test that I look at and see is just my initial gut reaction. This podium was made up of a 1026 winner, a 1011 second place, and a 1013 third place, which I would put a lot of money on not seeing that again the rest of the year.
Right. I mean, Barsby, what did he do? How did he win? Well, he was second in strokes gained putting. He had 12 strokes gained on the putting green and 22 strokes gained tee to green. Now 22 is pretty good, but Jakub had 31. So like significantly outperformed Greg off the tees. Greg only parked 4% of the holes. Like it's pretty crazy to win a tournament only parking 4% of the holes. That was like the low. I don't want to. Let me confirm this before I say it. It was one of the lower numbers. Now this is not an easy course to park holes. Like Kevin Jones finished 5th and only parked, I think, 1 hole the whole weekend. But it still goes to show you that, like, Greg played well off the tee, but he basically gave up almost 10 strokes to Jakub tee to green. But his putting made up the difference. And, I mean, you could see that watching the coverage, that's, like, what was the difference. Like, he smashed some huge putts, and Jakub made some mistakes, and that was enough for him to get the win.
FPO, not well attended. There were 11 women who played, and not even names really that we would recognize super well. Annika Steen takes down the win.
For the second time in a row. So congratulations to Annika.
But yeah, I mean, no US FPO players, no Henna, no Evelina. Very, very thin field.
Yeah, and Kristen Tatar, as I'm sure most people know at this point, is not competing at this week. She's not going to be at European Open. The elbow is not doing well right now, and it's rehab time. So yeah, Annika Steen beat Rachel Turton by 2 strokes. Rachel Turton out of the UK, a player to watch, coming up quick, dominating in the UK, and almost took down this win. Talk about a course that's not super tuned for FPO, like winning score 24 over. Turton showed up on the putting green, 10 strokes gained on the putting green, but too many errors in the fairways and off the tee. Annika Steen able to pick up 12 strokes on her tee to green over the course of the weekend.
Charlie, we've got purse watch, don't we?
We sure do. We've got a little purse watch to take a look at, and we didn't have a chance to talk about Idlewild last time because it hadn't been posted yet. So now we've got the data for Idlewild, and then we'll get to PCS. Idlewild total purse this year $86,200. That sets the DGPT record for the season. 52,000 to MPO, 33,000 to FPO. Similar payout numbers, so a deeper payout. MPO 7,000, FPO 6,150, and that is up just 3% total purse from 2021. And remember, this was like the tournament last year that like kind of kicked off. I think maybe Des Moines was before this, but this was right in the time of the season where purses suddenly just like spiked. And Idlewild was one of the big ones up at the top. And so it doesn't increase by much this year, but it still is number one on tour this season outside of Champions Cup.
You've got Ledgestone coming up, though, so I don't anticipate that record will hold for very long.
It's going to get murked. Yes.
PCS Sula, though, has some interesting facts here. PCS Sula was the highest payout for any Silver Series this year, which I think is really interesting given that the MPO payout was $43,635, FPO only $5,300. Given the limited field, that is the smallest of the year by a couple $1,000s. Payouts for overall winner was $5,500 for the MPO, and for FPO, despite being smaller than any other Silver Series this year, still paid out the highest FPO payout for any Silver Series at $2,100. So, I think it's pretty exciting to see that they've got those high payouts, lots of cash, and the PCS Sula, ready for this, Charlie? Back in 2021, remember, not a part of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, the payout was $12,000, which means PCS Sula is up 304%.
Well, I think that's the Pro Tour coming to town having an impact on the pay. I mean, that is a massive jump. Obviously, that's the biggest of the year by quite a margin. And so, yeah, from $12,000 to almost $50,000 in payout. Bigger field, of course, but it goes way beyond that. There's like a lot more added cash.
Oh, yeah.
In that PCS Sula purse. How much do you think that PCS Sula gives us information about European Open, Josh? Competitively.
It's the one thing I mentioned with Jakub. I think it tells us that the European players are going to be a serious threat at the European Open, whether that's at 5-1 or 8-1 odds. Is either way, but I think that's really the only thing I pull from this. We're missing Ricky and Paul. We're missing all the important FPO players for this weekend. It makes it hard to really give a lot of weight to. I say we're missing Ricky, Paul. We're missing Ricky, Paul, Simon, and I guess Eagle too. So missing a good field, and that's what makes it hard to do any sort of prediction, in my opinion.
Yeah, what can you say about those players? I think to me, I do say, okay, like Greg Barsby's putting looks really, really sharp. That could be a boon to him on a course where he's played well. Mm-hmm. He almost beat Macbeth here a few years ago, finished second in an incredible battle. I hope we get something like that this year. And Jakub Semerad, all right, you look pretty dialed in off the tees. Could we see you go out to Nokia and be competitive? I don't see why not. And that's kind of, maybe that's about as far as I go with it. I don't think either of those players is likely to win.
No.
But I do think that they look like they're pretty sharp. And, I don't know how much the courses at PCS Sula mirror the Beast, but it's still European disc golf with a lot of line shaping. And so I don't know. I think if you're a Barsbarian, you got to feel pretty good about where he is going into European Open.
I have a request. I would like Greg Barsby to win one tournament every year for meme content. I saw one, it was an alien that said, "Take me to your leader." And below it said, "We call him Sir Barsby," or "It's Sir Barsby to you." And it showed Greg Barsby holding the axe and the shield. Top tier memes. Whoever made that, I love that one. That was so good.
So many. Yeah, I mean, it's just cool to see how much like Greg cares. You know, like he was so juiced to win that tournament. He's won it before. He won it back in 2018. But you know, a great battle, fun coverage. Go check it out on YouTube. So we're going to turn our attention now to the European Open, and we're going to have basically 2 days of coverage. So today, tomorrow, we'll be back with more. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking live coverage and pay-per-view, spectators, the Beast, and more. Don't go anywhere. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Head over to Pound Disc Golf's Facebook page to get all the latest information. The Rufus is in production. That's right. So 10 prototypes deep. Now the Rufus is getting made, and pre-orders are going to be available very soon. You can find out more and get the latest and greatest at facebook.com/pounddiscgolf. Welcome back to the Upshot. Before we talk some European Open, I want to let you know about Sunset Lake CBD. It's a hemp farm just outside of Burlington, Vermont. For years, Sunset Lake produced milk for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and in 2019, they started growing hemp for CBD. They believe their farm-to-table approach is the best way for you to get responsibly produced, high-quality CBD products that actually work. Sunset Lake CBD crafts topicals, gummies, oils, and more to help with stress, aches, and sleep. Josh and I are both lucky to get a sampler pack of Sunset Lake CBD products. I'm not a big CBD guy, like historically, so I didn't have a whole lot of experience with CBD stuff. I did buy some CBD lotion for my wife. I don't know, for last Christmas, I think. But I mean, I was so impressed with the quality of the stuff that they sent over. They have some products, like I tried out the one with melatonin and CBD, and I slept like a baby. I mean, I really slept like a baby. It's pretty amazing stuff. So, Josh, have you had a chance to check any of it out?
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. I used the CBD melatonin gummy, just having a couple nights in a row that I couldn't sleep. Took that thing. Not only did I sleep like a baby, I woke up and I felt refreshed and not groggy. It was incredible. I that was one of the best nights of sleep I've had in a long time.
Wow. I love that. So if you want to check out Sunset Lake CBD, you can get 20% off everything on the website. Just use code UPSHOT, and we'll show you some products and stuff here over the next few weeks. And yeah, just really impressed. And it's like super high quality, comes with like a whole thing showing you that it doesn't have THC and stuff in it, so they can ship it through the mail. And so check them out today at sunsetlakecbd.com. Use coupon code UPSHOT to get 20% off all of their products. Sunset Lake CBD, farmer owned, Vermont grown. So European Open starts on Thursday, and if you want to watch the coverage, you better set those alarms, because things get started over in the morning in Europe, which means it's going to be the middle of the night over here in the United States. So for once, we have to suffer. All year, the Europeans suffer with the timing of all of our rounds. So, you know what? You just got to get up, and you got to set those alarms and get ready to roll. So, the live coverage will be on the Disc Golf Network. It was kind of a question mark about, was it going to be on DGN? Was it going to be on the new European Disc Golf live coverage? But of course, a few months ago, they announced it was going to be on DGN. And DGN subscribers get access to the live coverage of the European Open. However, Josh, there is also a supplemental pay-per-view option. For people who are not subscribers, for $20, you get the whole package, the European Open live coverage and this bonus content. If you're already a DGN subscriber, it's $10. So what do you get? Let's talk about it right now. You get the live broadcast of the President's Cup, which is tomorrow, Wednesday, July 20th. And that's Europe versus the US. And we'll talk a little bit about that more tomorrow. And, kind of like your Ryder Cup of disc golf. And you also get post-produced coverage of MPO and FPO, all 4 rounds. So that's only available for the bonus $10 payment, even if you're a DGN subscriber. There will not be YouTube post-produced coverage of this tournament. You also get some additional feature content like little videos, staff interviews, player interviews, things like that, as well as a skins match that will be post-produced and released next week. So Josh, this is an interesting model. We haven't really seen something like this before. We've sort of seen like full paywall USDGC from last year, and we've seen kind of like everything is included. But now we have this hybrid where like if you're a DGN subscriber, you get the round coverage, but you don't get this bonus coverage. How do you feel about this?
So I saw a Facebook post, and the Facebook post did not have all the information that said, how do you feel about, President's Cup being behind a $10 paywall? And I was like, well, nobody's watching the President's Cup this year. What I didn't realize is that post-produced was also behind it. I'm not happy. I'll be honest. And I am someone who doesn't have a problem with the pay-per-view model. I think, when we talked about USDGC, I understand why. I think that there is, reasonable expectations as to why that's the case and the value that they can deliver. And I think that they have consistently delivered when they do the pay-per-view model. My complaint here is that, it's typically announced pretty well in advance. And I didn't see anything about this until yesterday, 2 days ago. And so I didn't realize that there wasn't going to be any other post-produced except for this stuff that's behind the paywall. The reason that I'm kind of annoyed about it is because it feels like my alternative is not a good alternative. The DGN's like, hey, you could watch it at 3 a.m, or you can give us $10 to post-produced. I'm going to pay for it because I don't want to watch it at 3 a.m. I might watch like final round live, but I'm certainly not watching rounds 1 through 3 live. I've got a job. I hear the European listeners, like you said, just cringing right now. Like I get up at 3 a.m.
Oh, boo-hoo for you, Josh.
That's exactly what's happening right now. I feel like I got a little bit of a bait and switch here. And that's why I'm upset and not happy about this. If it had been kind of upfront and clear from the get-go, hey, this is what you're going to have for European Open, here's why, then I think I would have been, if DGN says, look, we're running our own post-produced crew, it's going to cost us a little extra to do so, you're going to have to pay $10 for the post-produced, fine, great, okay. But I feel... What?
It's kind of on you to some extent because they did announce that this is how it was going to be.
When did they announce it?
Months ago.
They did do it months ago. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's on me then. I just missed it. I will not be as upset. I had not seen anything about it.
It's fair to be annoyed, I think. But I think this is a harbinger, a canary in a coal mine for where things are headed. I don't think people should get accustomed to having everything on YouTube for free next day forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's just, there's business to be done putting it behind a paywall.
Yep.
Now, what's the model? Like, here's the thing that I think is bad about this. I think people who are already paying for a service don't want to have to pony up again and pay an extra $10 to get stuff that they are already feel like they're paying for. In some ways, it would be better if like the monthly cost of DGN was $2 or $3 higher, and then you just got everything. So I'm curious about that part of it. On the other hand, it's like, what do you expect on DGN? You expect to get live coverage of the rounds, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you expect.
Yep.
Well, that's what they're delivering.
It's true.
That's what they're delivering. Just because everybody's used to getting Jomez and whatever else, GK, Gatekeeper, etc., for free, doesn't mean that that's how it always is going to be. This is not a Disc Golf Pro Tour event. So I can understand the thinking here, even if it bothers people to have to pay extra to watch these things. But if you're somebody who really who doesn't care about watching it on, cut down to 40-minute front nine, back nines on post-produced, and you're happy to just watch the replay on DGN, it's not like you don't get to watch the rounds after they've aired live. You can watch them on DGN. You can sit there for 4 hours, and you can scrub, and you can watch. And I mean, I get why people might not want to do that, especially if you're not catching it live. But I on the other hand, like, I don't think it's totally unreasonable for them to put some content behind this extra paywall. How successful that's going to be, that's a very interesting question. Mm-hmm. It almost feels like the $20 deal, if you're not a subscriber, feels like a better overall thing than having to pay the extra 10 if you're already paying.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a psychological thing more than it is an actual monetary thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that it's interesting because I was just so much more willing to pay for the USDGC last year than I am now, even though this is less money and I'm just as excited about this tournament. It's weird. Like you said, the psychological part is just what makes it feel weird. And I think it's because there's something that I expected to be available already that isn't available. And I am still paying and getting like the basic, but it's now just an upgrade. It's weird. It feels weird to me. And that's why my brain still is like, no, this is okay. This pay-per-view model is how it is. There's reasons for it. But then just like my gut instinct though, just doesn't like it. Doesn't like this one. It doesn't like this one. I much preferred the USDGC and I don't know why.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about the President's Cup? I said we talk about it tomorrow, but then I thought more about it, and I was like, our show will come out after it happens. We have the lineups for the President's Cup. And again, this is USA versus Europe, both MPO and FPO. And this year's lineups are as follows. The USA is going to be represented by, if I can find the list. Hello, I just had it.
Captain Jeremy Colling, Ricky Wysocki.
Captain Jeremy Colling.
Paul Macbeth, James Conrad, Eagle McMahon, Calvin Heimberg, Adam Hammis, Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen, with Kevin Jones and Kona as the reserves.
Alrighty. Team Europe is going to be captained by KJ Nybo. And the rest of the players will be Nicholas Antila, Lauri Lettinen, Simon Lizotte, Vaino Makala, Evelina Salonen, Albert Tom, Kristen Tatar currently listed, but I would basically guarantee Hannah's already in there.
Hannah's already in on UDisc.
All right, this is off the European Open website, but we know Tatar's not playing, so Hannah. It'll be Evelina and Hannah, Knut van Holland, and then Seppa Payu will be in reserves for the Europeans. So obviously, as is always the case, the U.S. is going to be the favorites here. But as I basically say every year, I think this is the most competitive European team that we have seen. I think they're going to be capable of winning. Like I think they could win. I really think they could win. Like, you have a couple of the US players not really playing their best right now. Evelina and Hannah could beat out Paige and Katrina. I don't know that I would bet on it, but it's possible. And, on the men's side, it's definitely feels like a little bit more of an uphill battle. But, Germ is playing. Like, there's spots where they could get wins. I think this could be more interesting than any time we've seen in the past.
Hey, Charlie, I got an over-under for you.
Go.
Match play. So there's the two components, which I know we'll talk a little bit more about. But for match play specifically, do you think... I'll give you the line at 3.5. We're going to go 3.5. 3.5 European winners.
So in the match play, how do they do it? Is it singles match play?
So they have stroke play by card for round 1. Round 2 is match play, and it looks like it is singles match play. Match winner awarded 3 points for their team. A tie or each player earns 1.5. That's what UDisc says.
Let's see. They're playing 9 holes, right?
I believe
in the match play.
Let's see. I've got the article on UDisc. UDisc has a really good article about this. 3.5 was my number.
And that's total wins or just an MPO?
Total wins. That's FPO included.
And they have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 players. So
yep.
Over.
I
think it'll be 4. I think it's going to be 5-4 US.
Okay. So, yeah, anyway, I went through the US and looked at who I thought would lose, and that's how I set the line rather than who I thought would win on Europe.
I mean, I think it's a great number.
Okay, we'll put it in the books. There's our over-under for President's Cup. We will also have
I love that the captains are like Germ and KJ Nybo. It's like, throw me back to 7 years ago.
I don't know how they were selected, but I love it.
Great guys. People love them.
Great guys. Was it a fan vote?
I have no idea. One captain selected by vote, but I don't know what that means by vote. It doesn't say fan vote. There was a player selected by fan vote. There's a whole way they do this.
Oh,
it's like the top players based on UDisc world rankings, and then there's a fan vote, and then there's a selection by the team captain, and then there's, it's a interesting way they do this.
The article I'm looking at that they put the link to on this UDisc page is from 2019, but it says in this article that the captains are non-playing. Is that correct still?
Well, let's see if it says anything about that here. Captains are required to attend. Captains get to choose one of the players. The captains are published. The captains make their choices. It doesn't say they don't play, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I think they must play, right?
The article from 2019 said the captains did not play.
Okay, well, maybe that's the case. I'm looking at the official European Open website where they have all the information.
Okay.
And it does not specify one way or the other. Oh, no. Oh, I found it.
Okay.
Non-playing captain.
Non-playing captain. Okay.
So it makes a lot more sense. These are ambassadors, non-playing captain.
Yep. Makes everything.
I don't think I've ever seen this covered live. Has it been live before? Maybe they did it.
I don't know.
I think the last time we had this tournament was 19. Because we were supposed to have it last year, and they announced the lineups, but then of course there was no European major. We didn't do the travel, COVID, etc. I don't know. This is like a fun diversion to me. I don't think I would pay the $10 just to watch this personally. If you're a fan of post-produced, I could see why you'd pony up.
I'm a fan of post-produced when live is at 3 a.m. Because I think 3 a.m. I think 3 a.m. your time is 1 a.m. my time.
Well, see, you just stay up late. Come on.
That 1 a.m. till 5 a.m. That's my window right now.
Yeah, well,
do
you like disc golf or do you not like disc golf?
I am going to watch it live. I'm going to watch Final Round live. So I will be on the Discord live Discord. Or the Disc Golf Live Discord. I will be chatting with people for all you folks who are going to be up. And if I'm only talking to Europeans, then so be it.
Subscribe to Ulti-World Disc Golf to hear Josh delirious at 3 a.m. on the Discord. discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. We are going to do some live bonus segments in the Discord following the action after rounds 2 and 4. So make sure you sign up for a subscription to get our live rapid reacts to the midway point and then the end of the tournament. Okay, so let's move on off of President's Cup. I want to talk a little bit about the history of this tournament. Josh, I know you've pulled some numbers and some data. We already talked about Macbeth and what a tremendous performance he's had at the European Open over the years. But what else should we know about the European Open?
Yeah, there's a couple interesting facts, I think, for this tournament as a major. Number one is that this tournament is not held every year. It's actually been pretty consistently alternate years being on odd years, with the even years not having the major. The European Open is still typically held. It is, however, just an A tier in those cases. And then that, of course, trend was broken by 2021, where they did not hold the European Open just because they weren't sure of restrictions and the likes. So tournament is back. In those years, we've had pretty consistent trends. Those trends include Macbeth has not lost this tournament in a very long time. Better course of a decade. And the last winner other than Macbeth was Dave Feldberg. So I don't think that tells us much about who's got a chance this weekend. And then over on the FPO side, 2011, the year that Dave Feldberg won, was won by Val Jenkins. Since then, it has been Katrina Allen or Paige Pierce. So it's a major that I think has delivered, in fact, the most consistent results of any major in our sport over the past decade, in terms of the consistency of the players who are winning relative to the level at which they are in that season.
I will point this out. One of the things, and it's still true today, one of the things that makes this major interesting / different is that it's not attended by everybody. This is not Worlds. This is not USDGC. Not every player travels over to Europe to play in this event, including players who would have a great chance to win. And so when you see those stats about Macbeth and Paige and Kat winning, there's two parts to that. Number one, the quality of competition in the US has been well above that of Europe for a long time. We've seen the gap close, maybe completely, in FPO over, at least at the very top end over the last couple years. But in MPO, it's still the case that top level US players are better than the top level MPO European players.
Yes.
Now, there's a couple exceptions, right? We've seen Simon separate. People have started to consider him not European. I mean, I get why that is, but at the end of the day, he's still a German. He's just the best European player, so he relocated to the U.S. to try to dominate in the U.S. He's obviously having a great season. He will count as a European winner if he wins, Josh, just FYI, for our 5-1 bet. And so that's part of it. So when Macbeth and Paige and Kat come over, and in past years, they were often sometimes the only players from the U.S. Not the only ones, but there was a very small number of elite pros going over to Europe, because 10 years ago, people didn't have the money for that. That was reserved for the very best players, and that was it. Or people who wanted to take a European vacation. And that's changing, right? This year, we have a lot more players coming over than we ever have in the past. And I think it means that we could see a different outcome. I think, Paige and Kat have to be looked at as sort of the combined favorite over the Europeans, especially with KT not in the field. On the MPO side, Paul's not the favorite to win this year. I mean, he's probably in the top 5, but he's not the clear odds-on favorite. I think the odds-on favorite is probably Ricky. You probably have Simon, Calvin, Paul, all in the same kind of band. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. So that's just a note about this tournament and why those results aren't necessarily as clear-cut as they might seem in a U.S. event.
Great clarifications and point. I think what's really special, though, about this tournament is even despite the lack of a complete field, there is something captivating about the European Open, especially as a major. When it's just an A tier, it comes and goes. We read the results and we move on because it's not really significant. But as soon as it becomes a major, I don't know what it is about this tournament, to me at least, but the draw and the appeal of the European major is just unmatched in a lot of ways. I know it's not Worlds, I know it's not USDGC, but I get more excited about this tournament than probably anything except Worlds. And this year, I'm probably more excited about this tournament than I am about Worlds. It's a fantastic course that delivers a kind of excellence that allows for us to, I really think, appreciate the major and the capacity of European disc golf. And that's what I think the European Open has always done. And it has incredible branding to go along with it, whether it be the gate on hole 1 that you're throwing into the forest, preparing to take on the beast, whether it's the logo with the lion's head on just some gorgeous discs. And, UC Maresma, a critical figure in disc golf, especially in European disc golf, heading that charge. The excitement, the ambiance, the atmosphere is always one of high prestige, in my opinion. And it's one that I know Paul Macbeth talks about. He's talked about European Open wins. We've seen great battles here. We've seen great disc golf. And I think that's why the European Open to me is just such an important major for our sport and makes me so excited to have it back this weekend.
100%. We deserve this tournament. Europe deserves this tournament.
Yes.
Here's the thing. 2019, best attended European Open ever. It's been 3 years. We had 5,000 people watching the final round. Fairways packed with people. It looked like a golf tournament. There's insane photos. Eagle and Paul had a crazy battle. Paul won by 2 strokes. It's on one of the world's best disc golf courses, period. And it's in a country in Finland where disc golf is as big a sport as you have. Like, I asked UC today, how big of a deal is this? He said, we have 12 local and national media outlets coming to cover the tournament, and I'm getting more calls every day. And I want to show you a couple of videos that UC sent over. We're going to see hole 1 of the... And so you have to be on YouTube to check this out. I'll describe it the best I can as they play out here. So take a look at hole number 1. So, we've got the gate with the lion's head on it, as Josh mentioned. And there's a new, sort of seating area with bleachers and then a giant video board where they're going to be showing the live broadcast. So you'll have live cameras on that. And then we have 18 VIP trailer here, Josh. Take a look at this VIP trailer. Beautiful, tables, couches. There's a bar. And there's a player signing area over where they sign their scorecards over to the right-hand side. So the VIPs will be mingling with the players. And if you go out, there's a little skybox area that overlooks the 18th green. So you can go up and sit and watch the final putts come in. I mean, another video board, obviously, and televisions all over the place showing the live broadcast. This is an event that is at a level that we still haven't reached in the United States. It's just a fact. Yep. We're starting to have some events that are getting there. We had that great conversation with the OTB TDs, but we're not there yet in the United States. This is as good as it gets. UC says he thinks there's going to be 5,000 to 8,000 people at the final round. So Josh, I'll give it to you here. Over under 7,000 people in attendance for the final round. I took over 10,000 earlier this year, so I'm already locked in, but get a fresh line for you.
I'll take the over. Yeah, I'll go with the over on 7,000. I like the odds. You said it best, I think. This is the Super Bowl for Finland.
Now, I don't know if I want to go that far.
Really?
I think it's a big deal. I mean,
Super Bowl's big deal. Yeah.
What percentage of the population in Finland will go to this tournament? That could be similar to how many people go to the Super Bowl.
What's the population of Finland?
You got to look that up. I feel like it can't be that big. It's got to be sub 5 million people.
5.5 million.
I was close. I lost the over under though. So 7,000 people out of 5.5 million. That's like having the U.S. population is what now, 750 million or something. So it's like having, it's like having 1 million people come to something in the United States.
Hey, Charlie, I'm
ballparking.
I'm going to mulligan you real fast.
Oh no.
You kind of doubled the U.S. population.
It's only 300, it's only 400,000?
330 million.
Is it really still sub 400? I don't know why.
January 2020. too.
I'm not a census guy, okay?
Welcome to our National Geographic podcast.
We've got 1 billion people in the United States.
And the Super Bowl is going to feature 15 million of them.
God. Okay, so 5 million into 330 million, that's like 60, like 65-ish times bigger. So 7,000 times 65, do the math. It's massive. And I'm sure people travel from around Europe to come to this tournament.
Yeah.
But it's like, no matter how you slice it, it's a big deal.
Yes, it is not as big as the Super Bowl.
Let's say it's like I don't know. It's like the Major League Soccer championship, the XFL final. I don't know. Maybe a little bigger than that. The Rock is going to send a hit squad to my house.
It's a big deal. This is why analogies are bad.
Yes.
Because
oh God, I'm so far down the rabbit hole right now. I'm like coming up with fake numbers and.
Anyway, this tournament's a big deal. It's exciting. There's going to be lots of national coverage, local coverage, and lots of people there.
I will say this. I think this will set the record for most attendance at a disc golf tournament in the history of the sport.
So I want to ask real quick. Worlds set the record last year, right?
Did it have more than the European Open?
I was going to say, I think Worlds is the biggest one we've seen on the U.S. side. I think the
U.S. side, I think that's right.
European Open already holds the record. I think they're looking to break their own.
I think it does too.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to break their own record. I don't even think they sold that many tickets to Worlds. Like they didn't even sell 5,000 tickets to Worlds.
I think 3,000 was the number that was available.
Something like that. Yeah.
So correct us if we're wrong, but I think European Open is looking to break their own record of spectators. I think 8,000 would be by and far the furthest out. By a ways of any tournament.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So more to come tomorrow. We're going to talk all about the competition. We're going to set odds on players, chances to win. We're going to break down the course and what it takes to win on the Beast and a whole lot more. So we'll be back with you tomorrow early so that you can get up at 3 a.m. to begin the live coverage of the FPO. So thank you so much for tuning in. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you tomorrow right here on The Upshot.